I am SkelArcher, your bony pony host with the most, and I realized that last time I was with you, I brought you one of the most reviled films of all time. So tonight, I have decided to bring you the most reviled film of its time. One filled with such deformities that it had to be cut down multiple times across its many screenings. One that practically ended the career of its famed director, Todd Browning, who had, not 1 year prior, terrified the masses with the classic horror film Dracula. One filled to the brim with some of cinema's most horrifying, spine-tingling freaks. We start at a showcase with a showbaka talking about the prized gem of his attraction. He explains how she was the love and lust of many a man as we fade to a young woman on a trapeze. This young lady is Cleopatra, and the best way I can describe her is a soulless, heartless bitch. I will have fun detailing why later on. Hans, the leader of the circus as well as the de facto leader of the freaks, watches as the woman does her work. However, attracted to her as he may be, he is to be married to a fellow circus member named Frida, who seems to be jealous. Personally, I think that Cleopatra resembles fellow YouTuber Lele Pons, specifically from her appearance in YouTube Red's Escape the Night. Frida watches as Cleo sinks her claws into Hans with great disdain. Later on, a pair of gentlemen come across the circus attractions enjoying a day off and act non-accordingly.
Children, they're monsters.
Sir, let me assure you, you haven't seen a true monster yet. It is now when I need to say that this movie is just a day in the life of these performers, these so-called freaks. It shows that these people are that, people. We then meet Hercules, who seems to be...
I'm through wasting my time and money on things like you.
Quite the gentleman. The lady he's arguing with is Venus, who runs off and meets a clown named Frozzo. They don't...
The funny thing about you women, most of you don't get wise soon enough.
Exactly hit it off. But they do become friends and...
You're darn right I am. You should have caught me before my operation.
No comment needed. Frozzo comes across a pair of conjoined twins, one of which is being married to an asshat. Okay, I know things were different back in the 30s, but this is getting ridiculous. How many men in this movie are assholes? And speaking of, Hercules and Cleopatra are spotted by the person named Josephine. After he strikes her, we cut to Hans and Frida, and the trend continues here. Except Hans actually apologizes. About damn time. Hans then goes to visit Cleo, not knowing that she already has company. But she doesn't care. The next day, Venus and Frida talk about Cleopatra. I guess this is what the Real Housewives of insert city name here would be like back in the 30s. Later on, a group of circus workers laugh at Hans, who is rubbing Cleo's shoulders down. Look, I know he's infatuated with not Lily Pons over here, but shouldn't there be a few red flags flying for him? No? Fine then, Frozzo and Venus get to know each other a little bit more. Two fellow freaks talk smack about Cleo, how she'd spit on Hans if he wasn't giving her presents. And afterwards, we get even more interactions with the circus attractions, such as Schlitzie, the human torso. Did he just roll up a cigarette with his mouth and light it too? Okay, say what you will. That's pretty damn awesome. We get more of Frozzo and Venus's budding romance. hey, remember those conjoined twins? Well, the other gets engaged. And thankfully, not to a bastard. If you can't already tell, this area of the film is admittedly very disjointed. I know what I said earlier. However, when you're looking at this movie objectively, yeah, maybe I was a little bit wrong there. I'm doing as best as I can to cover each of these plots appropriately. But, much like that orange bastard, the plots just pop up and go away. Sadly, even more so here. I know that we're just covering the lives of the circus attendants, but do we really, truly need to cover each and every single one of them? Frida goes to confront Hans about Cleo, who responds with denial. She says that she just wants him to be happy, no matter what. Cleo and Hercules look over her last present from Hans, guesstimating the value in it, before Frida comes by for a visit. She tells Cleo that she knows what she's up to, but in turn, she also reveals a source of Hans's wealth to Cleo and a hiding Hercules. Once Frida leaves, the two begin plotting on how to deal with Hans. Later, we get the infamous wedding feast, where Cleo and Hans have already married, and they're celebrating it. All but Frida, who is heartbroken, and Hans, who watches a drunken Cleo and Hercules kiss. After a big debacle, one of cinema's most famous scenes, Hans goes through even more torment. You know, what's to come for these two isn't close to what I'd have in mind. Either way, these two try to suck up to Hans.
I should have known you would only laugh at me.
My sweet, I'd rather fall from the traps and break my neck than hurt your feelings.
That can be arranged. Hans collapses from the poison that has been administered to him over the course of the last few minutes movie's time. But he's not dead, just unconscious. However, one of Hans's friends witnesses the whole thing. Once they find out that Hans had been poisoned, suspicions grow among the freaks and the normal people, until one of them catches Cleo poisoning him in the act. But even Hans was suspicious, as he spits out the poisoned medicine.
Dirty, slimy freaks.
The freaks hide underneath the carriages, waiting to pounce on Cleo and Hercules, as they know they can't get away with attempted murder of one of their own. And after a tense scene with the freaks chasing them down, we cut back to the barker from the beginning of the movie, revealing what happened to Cleopatra. What happened to Hercules, you might be asking? Well, let's just say he's now an amazing soprano singer. Hans and Frida rekindle their relationship as Frozzo and Venus leaves them be. And that was Freaks. What may be one of the hardest movies I've had to review yet. Yes, it was the disjointed plots in the middle that did drag this movie down for me, though I cannot deny that the circus attractions themselves are quite amazing. Seriously, if you look into their history, it's really quite intriguing. While it is truly a shame that Todd Browning's career came to an end after this movie is worthy of being called a cult classic, and even more so, being inducted into the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. My score for this movie is a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and thanks to Guestsheaux for allowing me on here. Now that I have this review done, I have a few extra fun things that require my attention. I will see you soon. Sweet dreams.
dirty, slimy freak.